Hi, and welcome to this year's installment of Unboxing Bowie Unraveling 2024. Because, well, it's December now, and we now know what has been released over the past 12 months related to David Bowie and related to his music mainly. It was once again, unfortunately, a little bit of a disappointing year because, well, nothing much special had been released bar one. Well, let's look into it. First of all, in April it was Record Store Day, and in Record Store Day there was one release and it was called Waiting in the Sky. This is the album that could have been the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, but it misses a few of the very important songs like Rock and Roll Suicide and Starman, and in place of that, it contains Round and Round, Chuck Berry cover, and Amsterdam, a Jacques Brel cover. Yet nice, interesting, and a good start of the year. Record Store Day, I bought this one in a little shop in Paris, which was sweet. So that was number one. And then we speed on to May, and in May there were the usual superfluous 50 years anniversary releases, this time of Diamond Dogs. First of all, yet another picture disc version of the album. I mean, it's a nice album, but who needs 3 picture disc versions of the same album? I do. So this was one normal running order, nothing special. It was the picture disc, and then we have the gatefold sleeve half-speed master version of it. I don't know. It appears to sound better, but it never occurred to me that it really happens. It's a gatefold sleeve if you open it, and there we go. So this is the half-speed master, and next year we'll probably get the half-speed master of Young Americans. Well, we'll see what happens. Then it became June, and there was the gem of this year. I must say, the gem of this year was Rock and Roll Star. It looks like this on one side and it looks like this on the other side. A very nice book book and album that I already extensively reviewed. You can see my review. It was number 13 on this same channel, obviously. It contains many interesting things. It contains live versions, early versions of songs leading up to the Ziggy Stardust album. Very nice, and it contains 5 CDs and 1 DVD, and also a booklet, which is a facsimile of various Bowie scrapbooks containing lyrics and all other stuff. Very nice, very interesting, really the best edition released this year regarding Bowie's music. And there's also a parent or a sister vinyl version of that containing some of the interesting stuff. Shadow Man, very beautiful song. Velvet Goldmine, and most people will know. It's Gonna Rain Again, an unknown outtake. And also a version of I Can't Explain. It's a song by The Who that later emerged on Pin-Ups, but this version is much faster. Very interesting version of I Can't Explain, and worthwhile if you still own a record player, a vinyl player, and good equipment. So, also in June was released, once again, Bowie's first album, David Bowie, 1967. It was a total flop back then, and we all understand why, because it's very weird music, very interesting, very nice music, but for those days it was even too weird for Beatle fans. And there were no Bowie files yet, so, well, anyway. What happened this time was that they released 2 different versions, one on green vinyl and one on splattered green vinyl. Spot the difference. But the big difference is that on the second album, containing some outtakes, not outtakes, but other versions of songs that were recorded later on, or mono versions, stuff like that, they switch one song. On the one song, it's one album, it's The Laughing Gnome, and on the other album, it's a mono version of Sell Me a Coat. That's the only difference, apart from the color. I don't know why they did that. Well, maybe to sell more versions, so copies. So this is green, This is also green, but different green, splattered green, you know. Nice enough, it's okay. But they also released the CD version, which contains both Selmy Code and the Laughing Gnome in a different version, and also Space Oddity in the embryonic version that they recorded in '68 already. Well, at least they say it's in '68, but probably in '69 as well. And what I must say is that the sound on this CD is really pristine. It's not a remaster, it's not a remix or anything, but yet it sounds really great, and I really heard things that I never heard before on this album, which is funny, but also very nice to have. So this might be a purchase worthwhile if you like CDs. If you don't like CDs, but you do like Blu-rays, there's also this disc. It's a disc that contains 4 different mixed versions of The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and The Spiders from Mars. 4 versions, among which the 2024 Bowie-items mix and the 2024 stereo mix by Ken Scott himself, the producer. I don't know what it sounds like because I do not own a Blu-ray player. But 4 different versions of the same album. It's the only thing that's on. No extra tracks or anything, just 4 times these great 11 tracks that are on this album. Just so you know. And then it's silent for a long time, and then November emerges, and November did not spawn a monster this time, Morrissey, but a single. It's not a new song, it's not a new single. It's called Isn't It Evening. It's by David Bowie and Earl Slick, and there are 2 versions. There's one on blue vinyl, this one, and there's also one on red vinyl, which contains a signed cover signed by Earl Slick himself, but that goes away for ridiculous prices already, so I don't own that one, but this one I have. It's a very nice song. It's originally recorded for 2003 album Zig Zag by Earl Slick, which also contains, for instance, a cooperation with Robert Smith of The Cure. That's Believe, I think. So this is quite a nice album. It's interesting, and my version also contains 2 guitar picks of Earl Slick that I picked up from the floor, or actually one of my friends picked it up from the floor in New York and in Paradiso, and that I own now, which is nice because I'm sort of a little bit of a fan of Earl Slick. Not so much a fan that I already own his book Guitar, that was released this year as well. It's about his guitar life, it's an autobiography sort of, and it's a great storyteller, so I'm also curious what he has to say. It's about Lennon, it's about Bowie, it's also about Phantom, Rocker and Slick, I suppose. That was the successor of Stray Cats. He went in because Phantom and Rocker were the other 2 Stray Cats, apart from Brian Setzer, and then Earl Slick tagged along for a while. So that was one book that was released this year, which may be interesting, and the other one is one that I own only a few weeks now. It's by David Curry, and David Curry is an Englishman that was a bit in the entourage of Bowie during the 80s, because he was the founder and editor of Star Zone magazine, which started off as a cartoon magazine, but later on emerged into an all Bowie magazine, approved by Bowie and by Coco Schwab, Bowie's assistant. And this book is actually sort of an account of the 80s through the eyes of David Curry. It contains photographs that he took during the 80s mainly, and also the 90s, mainly the 80s, like these pictures, for instance, of the 87 Glass Spider Tour. And it also contains some cartoons, drawings of Bowie-related stuff, Bowie as a Simpson, for instance, by Bill Morrison. This one's a signed edition of 500, which also has a nice extra case. And also there are stories by George Underwood, which was a school friend of Bowie. He's the one who got him the dilated eye in a fight over a girl back in the 60s. He'll tell you everything about it in this book if you are interested. But that was it. That's what was released officially, that is, in 2024, and there's a little bit of disappointment, especially because 1974, 50 years ago, was really a pivotal year in Bowie's career, in which he transformed from the Diamond Dogs album into Young Americans, which is so totally different. And there are many live recordings of that shift. And nothing of that was released, had any attention this year, and that's really a pity in my view. So who knows? And also nothing about Tin Machine, which is also a shame because it was 35 years ago that the first Tin Machine album was released, which is actually quite good. But okay, what can you do about it? Maybe there's always hope. So let's hope that 2025 will be marvelous. If you know where that is from, then you're a real Bowie file. And Young Americans, 50 years, so probably a picture disc, probably a half-speed master, and maybe other stuff. One Outside, 30 years, who knows? But one thing is for sure, and that is that the V&A Museum will open their Bowie archive in September 2025, and that should be very interesting. So all Bowie files will go there and dig into all the stuff that's there, lyrics, clothing, and everything else. And hopefully there's also some more interesting recordings that might be released afterwards. Well, we never know. We'll see about that. And in the meantime, enjoy the music and God bless.